wake up in the morning, it is a good practice to actually just put a lime in a lukewarm water. And because he says that it destroys the undesirable germs in our gut. And when we do that, because since by now we have seen that whatever act we do, we have to do it very consciously. So when you do this, so please visualize that all that, charged water, when it is going through the gut, it is, cleaning, and it is, just taking care of all the debris and the waste which is there in the gut, and your gut is getting cleansed. So please visualize that thing in your thoughts. And it is really good for your liver, spleen, kidneys, and your intestines. Yeah, the next one. And there is a lot of debate, these days going on, that how should your plate be? There are many sites available which says that, okay, how much should be protein, how much should be carbohydrate. And if you see that, just to make it simpler, we have here a plate, and out of which 50% we have shown are only fruits and vegetables. And this is what is the yogic wisdom, that we should have a plate which has at least half a portion of fruits and vegetables, and the rest half you can divide into two parts, half being a starch, another half being a protein. And I'll just show you the glimpse of the food plate, how it should look like. You see that in this plate, there is a lot of broccoli, lot of vegetables, carrots, olives, and just 25% of it is protein, which is in the form of chickpeas, and another 25% as a bread. So this is how it should look like. And Master has also, Master has also talked like how we should be combining the foods. Sometimes we are combining irrationally. And so some of the do's and don'ts I have put in this slide, that milk and fruit can be a very good combination. So it is always good to, combine fruit with milk. But then if you are combining two proteins together, that is not the right thing, because our bodies are very, they have a right balance to, and the right balance to, digest only one protein at a time. So if you are taking two proteins at a time, then it is a kind of stress on the system. And similarly, when you are taking milk with your meals, that is not the right thing to do. We should be taking milk empty stomach. So either as the first thing in the morning, or maybe as the last thing in the night when you are going to bed, because then it acts as a tranquilizer, it gives you a good sleep, and it acts as a mild laxative also. And the other don'ts I have put here, that starches and citrus fruits, and especially lemonade and bread, like starches and lemons, they don't gel well. This is because the enzyme gets deactivated. Most of the starch digestion takes place in our mouth. This is because an important enzyme is there. That is why we say that we should masticate our food thoroughly and chew it thoroughly, so that the enzyme gets gets to act on the food, and the food gets digested easily. And when we are taking lime with it, then it is not going to be effective. So these are just some of those do's and don'ts. You will find many such do's and don'ts in the book that we have given you. Next. And a word about water, there is a lot of confusion. People say when to take water, how to take water, and this is that. So the Vedic and the yogic wisdom is that we should not be drinking water with our food, and we should not be drinking water especially immediately after having our meals. The reason being that it again dilutes the juices, and so your digestion will be hampered, and digestion will not be effective. This is because another reason is that when our food gets into the stomach, there is a lot of fire which our stomach has to build up in order to digest it. And so if you are putting cold water over it, what are we doing? We are dousing it. So this is again unnatural. And what Master has said, that in today's times, the biggest reason of obesity and diabetes is that we have water with our food. It gets accumulated in the stomach area. And the other thing is that we should not be taking the previous one. Yeah, we should not be taking similarly the ice water after the food, and because it retards the digestion. Yeah, and especially when we are overheated, the practice of having earthen potable water is the best. This is the refrigerated water is actually not the nice thing. And another pearl of wisdom that Master has given us is that our bodies work best in alkaline medium. This is we talk in medical terms of metabolism and homeostasis. The general, how the cells are working in what environment. When our bodies today, these days, I'm getting a lot of patients and they have recurrent sore throats. They have sometimes sinusitis. They have sometimes recurrent common colds, and they sometimes come to me that why is it happening? Somebody is having once in a while, it's okay. But somebody is having, let us say, 3 attacks in a year, that means something is really not natural we are doing. And one of the most common reasons for recurrent sore throats and sinusitis is that our bodies are becoming more and more acidic. As a result, and what is the cause of our bodies becoming acidic? That we are either having a lot of fast food, we are having food at improper times, we are not allowing our food to get properly digested, we are not having, periods of rest. Sometimes, people have shift-wise duties, they are working in call centers, they are not 6 to 7 hours of sleep is actually a must for an average person, so that, his body is able to, his cells can come down to the baseline. And the lack of fresh air. Most of the time, we are staying indoors, in the air circulated through the ACs. And so that's another reason that why our bodies become more acidic. And this is the reason. And once we have to, the principle or the mantra which we have to learn is that alkalinity can bring us health and immunity. So when you make your body alkaline, you will automatically, your defense systems will be working best and your immunity will shoot up. And how to make it alkaline, these are the pictures, because pictures stays in our memory for longer period. So you see here, there are a lot of carrots and tomatoes and lettuce and other vegetables, and also a glass of buttermilk. These things can make our body alkaline. All fruits are alkaline, dates are alkaline, milk is alkaline. So try to incorporate these into your diet more and more. And recently we have a data from US, and they said that there is it was a complete turnaround. And I'm practicing medicine for last 20 years, and people were saying that cholesterol is bad and cholesterol is so bad for this thing. And now the same set of scientists, some of you might have read this in the news, and they have an exact U-turn, and they are saying that cholesterol was not that bad as you were thinking, and it is actually the sugar which is more bad. And just because there is a whole pharma industry based on making drugs and and n number of things, so you can see like how the research these days can get affected, who is funding and who is behind those things. And that is why you see that white flour items, the sugar especially, is more dangerous. The chains of fast food centers we see cropping up in India, most of these things are actually banned in Western countries, and just because we people are ignorant, we are just blindly following and we are not keeping a check on them. This is because master says that it acts like a glue. Most of these, pasta, pizzas and all this stuff, and especially bakery items, they act like a glue. It makes a paste in our intestines. As a result, most of the waste material just stays in the gut itself, and a lot of toxins, they start getting absorbed from there. A lot of data is now coming up that stomach, if it is not flushed properly, can actually bring up negative thoughts in the mind. This is a very new thought which is coming, that how, if the toxins are not flushed, we can have bad moods. I mean, nobody has thought about that, how depression and stomach can have a link together. So the solution is that keep it raw. So if we have lot of raw vegetables which give you a lot of fiber, and it also, and don't cook it too much. If we take it closer to the raw side, maybe just undercook your vegetables, have it in a more soup form, and so you will not be destroying the vitamins. And if we take excess sugar, that is another reason why people have a lot of bloating and gases and flatulence these days. So because sugars cause fermentation, so that is another reason why we are facing these troubles. A word of wisdom about the nuts. Nuts are, Yogananda says, they are the powerhouses, and we should include them in our diet. They are the highly concentrated sources of protein, especially for people those are vegetarian. And they should include nuts in their diet. In fact, milk and nuts can be a good breakfast. And try to consume them in the early part of the day, because since they are concentrated sources, they are proteins, body takes time to digest them. Chew them harder, chew them, don't just swallow them in a hurry. You have to chew each almond, each cashew, whatever you're taking. So do it thoroughly. And then don't mix it with your meals, because your body will not be able to assimilate them properly. And so that is it. And a glass of milk every day. Master says milk itself is actually a balanced diet. And some of us, especially after 60, people become deficient in calcium, and their bones, they start just become more porous, and they have a higher likelihood of fractures. So a glass of milk is in fact necessary for all of us. It supplies us all the vital elements. It slows down the aging process, and you can take milk with your fruits. And yes, next one. So this is what our good breakfast should be like. Lots of fruits, milk and nuts. And maybe if you cannot have it daily, I would encourage that people should have at least one day a week of such kind of breakfast. If not having it, because this is a habit, ultimately takes time to be developed. If we are, having in a habit of having parathas or pohas or idlis daily, I mean, whatever is the culture, so it takes time to, change. So just a word about some of the qualities which these foodstuffs are giving us. This book is talking about that in detail, because food affects our state of mind, because all the cells have latent intelligence, and this intelligence directly affects the intelligence of the person who is taking them. So nuts can give you good memory and concentration. Similarly, fruits will give you more heart qualities, and similarly vegetables will give you a good management over the body, and milk will give you a lot of enthusiasm and energy. So every foodstuff has some spiritual quality also linked with it. And let hunger be your guide. Sometimes people say that, okay, the clock has struck, so let me just go on the dining table, even if I'm feeling not hungry. That is the worst thing to do. So just because the time is there for the lunch, we have to eat it. It is not compulsion. So we have to just feel, take charge of your body. Are you feeling really hungry? Then you must eat. If you're not, then you should skip your meals. And yeah, that is what. And we will talk about some of these things in the fasting. And just a word about this man. Who was this man? Yes, yeah, everybody knows about it. There's just a word, there is a lot of debate going on about vegetarianism and non-vegetarianism. And so he was the greatest scientist of the last century, and he says that nothing will benefit health and increase the chances for survival of life on earth as the evolution to a vegetarian diet. So I will not go into the debate, but then a lot of data is now coming up that when we become vegetarian, the chances are that our longevity increases. So with that, I'll just shift to the later part of the next one. Yeah. So he is considered to be the father of modern medicine, Hippocrates. And he gave, and he was there he lived on the planet 2000 years ago. And this is what he said. He said that all diseases begin in the gut. And this is some of our wisdom from Ayurveda also. And history of fasting, if you see, is actually not new. People from thousands of years, even in the time of Hippocrates and Plato also, people used to know benefits of fasting. And most of our forefathers were actually hunter-gatherers. So they used to go out for hunting, and they had sporadic access to food. And so all our tissues were actually having an adaptation to conserve the food. Our ancestors, they were not eating 3 meals a day plus snacks, which what we do here in these times, because they were just having food whenever they used to hunt. And every time we eat or drink, every slide you will see there is a quote there. So just spend some time on reading that quote also. Every time you eat or drink, so you are either feeding the disease or you are fighting it. So then the diet and fasting are actually all interlinked, and they are very important. Next. Now I'll talk about the research which is there, and this research I'm sharing with you from Longevity Institute of South Carolina. And these people, they actually did some fasting in mice. And what they observed was that they were allowing 2 to 5 days of fasting per month. So that is what they did. And they had a control group also. And what they found in the mice was that the biomarkers are some chemicals which we can see in the investigations of cancer, diabetes and heart diseases. They started declining in those mice, those who were fasting. So similar results are probably possible in humans also. And this is just a schematic view to show you that when we fast, our cells go in a protective mode. This is how nature helps us. Whenever there is a stress actually helps, just like we were talking. When we are pushing our neck against the resistance, what is happening? Our muscles are getting stronger. So same way when we do fasting, then that is a kind of stress on the cell. And what will happen to the cell? That periodic stress will actually strengthen the cellular machinery. Isn't that so? So this is a protective mode, and this is what is happening, and when they go into protective mode, so there is no push for them to grow automatically. That is what is happening in a cancer. What is a cancer? That cells, they go into an autonomous mode and they start multiplying automatically. Next. So some of the trials people are doing, this is their modern trials which are going on. People are working on elderly people among the age of 55 to 70. They are also working on pre-diabetics, and they are seeing that how neurocognitive decline, that how people's mental functions can actually perform better if they are given periodic fasting. And this is how what is happening. If you see in the liver, the insulin sensitivity improves when we do fasting. So that means our blood sugar levels, the chances of our blood sugar levels getting controlled will be better. Somebody was asking, and same things are happening in the pancreatic cells also, where insulin is secreted. And similarly, the adipose tissue, where the fat accumulation is there, the less fat accumulation will be there, and our muscles will be stronger. Next. And two kinds of fasting scientists have observed. People have observed that, okay, because there are many types of fasting. This is not necessary that we have to do it weekly, or it is a fortnightly, or it can be just no restriction for 5 days, and then you can take just 500 calories for 2 days. So I'm just talking about what people did in the research, but I will give you some flexible alternatives also. So just we can skip this. And so this is what is the benefit people have found, that it can reduce our weight, it can lower our blood pressure, it can help our cholesterol to come down, it can reduce our inflammation in the body, and it also improves our metabolic health. And this is the data from Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, Chicago. And just a word how it helps our brain. Again, the studies were done in mice. Some of the diseases like strokes, Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, and lifespan of the mice increased by 30%. And this is because the repair of the damaged DNA, because there is something, ongoing DNA in our cells is sometimes getting damaged because of the stress which we are accumulating on us. So this repair faculty gets better with fasting. So cellular repair is also happening at a faster pace, and the cells become, stronger, and they can withstand future insults better. And one interesting thing, what happened was that WBCs are the defense cells which we have in our blood. So fasting actually, and sometimes these WBCs, they become very effete as they become aged cells and they are worn out. But body has a capacity to clear them. But when these cells are not cleared, what happens that sometimes these WBCs, they can grow, start attacking the normal cells of the body. This is what is known as autoimmunity. Some of these autoimmune disorders, which are like SLE, rheumatoid arthritis, these are happening. This is because WBCs are destroying our own natural cells. Why is this happening? This is because body is not able to clear them properly. So fasting helps in clearing these, recycled, worn out WBCs better. And so we can think like how it is going to help us in the wear and tear. And now I will talk about something people sometimes say that, oh, it is very challenging. How can I do fasting? I'm not used to it. And so the basic thing is that it is just like if you ask some couch potato to start exercising, it will not happen in one day. There is a habit pattern which has to be developed, and we will talk about some of these habit patterns in today's workshop also. And so it takes almost 2 to 3 weeks because it is not going to be a smooth transition. But then a wise man is someone who feels that health is the most valuable possession. So we invest in so much things, why not to invest in health also? And so flexibility is the rule. And what in this book you will also read, that fasting can be done in many ways. Sometimes you can just abstain from certain foods. Just feel for your system. Maybe you don't need that much protein. Maybe you don't need, some people may not be requiring that much fat, or some other person might be requiring more protein. So you have to listen to the system basically. So once your feeling faculties improve, you will be able to feel better. And sometimes you can just skip a meal. If you're not feeling hungry, just skip a meal. That is a kind of fasting, because your body will be able to clear the backlog. And limit the food in quantity. Reduce the size of the plate. Even that is a kind of fasting we can do. Maybe you are having 3 chapatis, just have 2 chapatis. That is also a kind of fasting. And then some people can have fasting on fruits and veggies alone. It is not that we have to starve or we have to just live in hunger. So there are many flexible things which are given in this book. And just I would like to sum it up with this pearl of wisdom of Yogananda. He says that most diseases can be cured by judicious fasting. And that is a statement. Because we are living, if you see some modern textbooks of medicines, we have almost 3,000 or more than that ailments. Just imagine, it's a big encyclopedia. But when he says that most of them can be cured by fasting, we must listen to it, I think. Thank you. So I can take some of the questions if we have some time. Otherwise, my allotted time was just 20 minutes.
5 minutes.
Yeah, I can take. Yeah, we have 5 minutes.
I have 2 questions. You talked about the fasting thing, right? So for a diabetic person, usually they cannot go hungry.
Yes.
So what is the advice for them?
Yeah, well, the advice is very simple. We have to take small and frequent meals. So small and frequent is the, if you will see, just take periodically. Just divide, space your meals into, 8, 6 or 7 times. But don't take one big meal, and try to incorporate more healthy snacks. Take more sprouts, take more chana, take more protein snacks, which will give you more filling.
And you said that fruits and vegetables. So as per Ayurveda, they usually say that food should not be mixed with the main meal.
Yes.
So should we really be having every, or should we space it out to the fruits separate? And
Yeah, if it is possible for you, it is really best that we can take fruits at a separate time, because but vegetable salads you can combine with your meals. That is okay.
And you said that milk and fruit is good.
Yeah.
So do all the foods go well with milk, or there are certain combinations that do not work?
I think you will read some of those combinations in this book, but Master has highlighted some of the very good combinations. But most of the fruits, I would say, would really be gelling well because that is what we normally do also in our homes. I mean, if specifically something is not, you will have, that can be avoided. But most of the fruits, if you think of apples, bananas, and grapes, and some of these even, so these fruits can be easily put. Pears also, and dates would be fine.
How much sugar is excess sugar?
How much sugar is excess sugar? Yeah, actually the people say that it is 20 grams. 20 grams is the permissible limit per day. But then most of this sugar is actually white sugar which we are taking, which again is not the right quality of sugar. And because sugar is there in fruits also, and sugar is there in jaggery also, and sugar is there in the this white sugar also. But qualitatively all these sugars are different. So ultimately it is when we take more of natural sugar. So try to take more of natural sugar. Master said that put honey in your if you're making shakes. But if we can have the pure honey, if it is available, but whatever we can get. So those things can be done. So try to keep it natural.
So white sugar should be avoided
As far as possible, yes. As far as possible.
White sugar and in fact white salt.
Yeah.
As maida, all 3 white
Yes,
things.
yes.
Is it okay to use that sendam namak which they say nowadays and stevia for sweetening?
I think so. They should not, because the only thing why we are not fully recommending is that because it is iodized. The white one is actually iodized. So some people, and the government why took this initiative of iodizing the salt was that most of this senda namak was coming from the mountain foothills, and they have a low iodine content. So unless we are actually starving ourselves of the iodine thing, then it is okay, in whatever form we take.
There is a controversy going on that dairy products, all dairy products like butter, cheese, and even milk also make the body system acidic.
No. Milk is alkaline. This is absolutely, this you can see in your chemistry sessions also, that milk is, and you just can do a litmus test. Milk is alkaline in nature. Milk is not
All dairy
acidic.
products like butter, cheese, paneer.
Yeah, see, ultimately we have to see that because all these like paneer and cottage cheese and these things are the sources of protein. So we are now dividing milk into different byproducts. By milk per se is alkaline in nature, but then we talk of cheese. Then cheese will come more in the category of proteins. So we have to see like how much protein my body needs. Sometimes people, those who have more acidic systems, they actually need less protein, because in order to digest protein, body has to consume and digest it by producing more secretions and more acid. So ultimately people, those who by and large have their acidic nature of their milieu, they should consume less of proteins. And most of the affluent class people actually don't need as much protein, they are consuming more than what is required. It is the undernourished and lower socioeconomic people, those who need more protein. We need not more than 0.8 grams or maybe 1 gram per kg body weight. So if let us say an average man is weighing 60 grams, he doesn't need more than 50 to 60 grams of protein, and most of it should be actually vegetable protein, because vegetable protein is easily digestible, and the non-vegetarian protein and meat protein is actually going to be harder on the body. So that can be a general rule.
You want to say something about veg versus non-veg diet?
I will not go into that because I purposely omitted that thing, and then I just showed you the wisdom of one of the greatest scientists of the last century. So probably he must have felt something in himself that he was sharing that thing with us.
If my body is not showing any sign of indigestion, can I take protein at the later half of the day?
Yeah, that is what Master has actually advised us not to do, because you see, protein takes very long time to get digested. So we should take protein early in the day, because when we are active, our stomach will have all the work to do, and it will take almost 3, 4, 5 hours to digest the protein. So if you will have in later half, and later half we are going to bed maybe after 1 hour or 2 hours, so it will all remain undigested in the stomach, and that could be one of the reasons why people have sore eructations in the morning, and they have a lot of acidity, because most of it is lying undigested. And there is a solar rhythm also. If you see Vedic literature, the sun, the digestion is related with the movement of the sun, and the whole productivity, if you see on the planet also, most of the office work, if you see, happens between the 10 to 2 window period, which is the peak hours of the sun movement. And that is why your breakfast, if you are having at 9 and lunch at 1, food gets digested easily. But what happens in the night? The sun is not there, and digestion so is going to be weaker. That is why the general rule is that always take lighter dinners, because lighter dinners will always be helpful, especially for people, those who have asthma, those who have sinusitis. You know, when our bodies become more acidic, they produce more secretions, because body has to get rid of that excess acid through, you know, producing more secretions, and that is why the nasal congestion is there. They have a lot of, you know, excess, you know, secretions are there.
Ideal dinner time
Would be 2 hours before going to bed. Ideal dinner time should be 2 hours before going to bed. So whatever is your bedtime, try to adjust your dinner time according to that. So if you're going to bed, let us say at 11, you must have your dinner by 9.
So lemon and water is before going to washroom or after, like when we get up?
I mean,
There's like
morning is a big window, so you can just have it before, after, whatever is working for you. But basically, it is like how it is cleansing.
so as soon as you get up, you normally take that.
You can take, yeah, Ivan can take that.
Any intake on alkaline water. They say make the water alkaline and drink it.
How will we do that? Alkaline, yeah, lime is the what we recommended.
Soda bicarb.
Soda bicarb, I would not recommend, because see, ultimately it's a chemical, and there is going to be rebound acidity. Something, if you see medical literature, what they say that immediately your pH of the stomach will fall, but then body will automatically go into the reverse mode, and there is a feedback loop, and your body will then produce excess acid. So in that way, soda, and moreover, soda bicarb will produce, when going to the stomach, it will produce a lot of CO2, and this excess CO2 will come out as a belching, or if CO2 gets
No,
absorbed.
very little. They say very little. Soda bicarb.
Personally, you know, whatever I have read from Master's wisdom, he has not recommended. Because we are sharing here what yogic wisdom we have.
Because what they also say is that most of the water we are drinking has become acidic because of the chlorine and all that is added into water to purify. To nullify that, they say you have to have. There is a lot of wisdom on YouTube.
I mean, if I have not read that, because some things on internet, you know, people are putting, but what is the basis? We just have to go into, yeah, authenticity.
Equipment also which gives you alkaline water.
Yeah.
We can also, you know, just leave tap water or filtered water out for a while, because the chlorine then goes into the air. Yeah, something like that.
Everything on YouTube is not authentic.
No.
Everything is not authentic.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
Just because there's some on YouTube.
And not only that, there are equipments also which give you alkaline water.
Yes.
No, it's very good to, you know, take those measures. But you know, I would really say that when Amarji mentioned about that link between sinusitis and protein intake, I'm reminded of a case I saw in Lavasa. A young girl whose, you know, mom brought her, and she said, you know, she always gets sinusitis attacks. And I was looking at the girl, and she really was like you know, very like sad and feeling ill, and there was a lot of congestion. But I was asking myself that this cannot just be because of sinusitis. There has to be something more. And while I was examining her, a thought came to me to just ask if she eats chicken or how much does she eat. You know, young people can sometimes go overboard. So I just, the whole family was there in the room and I just asked her mom, I said, does she eat chicken? Just generally, because it's not related, no? Nose and chicken. Her mom looked at me and she said, doctor, you must tell her and her father, they both only eat chicken. Morning, evening, afternoon. And I just knew that in that moment I had found the cause. And then I told her, I said, well, you know, take this antibiotic, just try this medicine. I said, but you know, try to include some fruits in your diet. And how much water are you drinking? And that was again very low. So her system, her body was acidic. And that is what I could see in her face, that this is not just a problem of the nose. Her whole body is shut down and she's just like 16 years old. This should not be happening. So just to, and then of course, you know, one problem leads to another, and she later had an ovarian problem also, because if we eat too much of processed meat, I mean, that is treated with hormones. And so we want to now, again, one of the ways in which milk and protein which has too much hormone treatment can be dealt with is by heating it, because that denatures the non-essential protein, and milk, that's why it should be boiled, or you know, some of those things can be done. But it's a long thing. The point I was trying to make is, in your own diet, Amarji mentioned, try to feel. So just like how I tried to feel for that girl, that it's not just sinusitis, because her mom came up and said, give her the best antibiotic, as if I would not. And she said, give her. So we sometimes think, oh, this is the problem, whereas it's slightly behind the scenes sometimes. So see that, okay, this is not helping me. Or, for example, I've sometimes felt, oh, I need more milk right now. And sometimes if I don't take milk even a day, the energy starts feeling low. For some people it may not be right, but there are other cereals we can substitute it with. Also something I found of late very nice is some tulsi water. I mean, it just makes the water so sweet, and just like 4 leaves in there, something changes about the water. And I personally don't prefer to drink water right out of the tap or even the filter. I try to keep it in a bottle, sometimes a copper pot. And then after some time, overnight you drink it. I would say actually invest in a silver glass. It is wonderful if you have a small, glass, half a liter silver glass in which, or brass, in which you can drink off it, because it has been found to be very nourishing. But you'll find many more nuggets in the book, and that was a wonderful, wonderful presentation on diet within half an hour. So we'll move on to now the subject of meditation. And Amarji, will you be my scribe?
Yeah.
Write a few things. And I want to see the paper. Can I see this paper? Okay, so we'll go till 3:25 and take a 5-minute break. Is that good? Yes, we'll keep up with the time. Okay, so this topic of meditation, I really want to make it experiential. We will be learning how to sit up straight, and that's actually, and then where to keep our eyes, what kind of breathing is good for us, because as we all know, meditation implies relaxation. It is something people do to achieve mental, emotional relaxation, spiritual enlightenment, spiritual experiences, spiritual, you might say, it's not good? Sorry. Hello. I'm Dr. Aditya. I'll talk on meditation. So, is this required? Can you hear me without this? Yeah, I prefer that. Oh, for the camera. Okay.
No, it's okay.
It's okay?
Yeah.
So meditation, Paramhansa Yogananda ji, I think if there's one thing he emphasized on, that is it, meditation. He said by meditation, he said you will come to realize that you are something much beyond the body. He spoke of emotions. He says by meditation, he says gradually you can earn a lot of calmness, peace of mind, equanimity of mind. He used to say on the spiritual path, the first duty of every devotee, every disciple, is to have even-mindedness and cheerfulness. And honestly, our Dharmacharya at present, Jyotish ji, somebody asked him, about a deep question about spirituality. And he says, Master said the first rule of the spiritual path is to be cheerful and even-minded. And he says, I think that is as deep as spirituality can get. If we can reach that point, that is it. So what the point I want to make is, as we meditate, and we'll see some of those slides now, as we meditate, as people have been meditating, there have been found to be changes taking place in the brain. We all know there are these grooves, and sulcus in the brain, and now doctors have found that when we are doing meditation, it is the prefrontal, the front part of the brain. You see, the prefrontal is even before the front, because in animals which were earlier studied, they would define it frontal lobe, which is front, and now they have found that, we have a flat forehead. Cow, buffalo, dogs, cats, they do not have a flat, they have a sloping forehead, and because we as human beings have this new part, or it's also called the neocortex sometimes, part of the brain. Why is this important to know? Well, if sometimes you've found somebody or yourself remembering somebody's name, you say, what was his name? You knit your eyebrows. You bring the energy to that part of the brain. Or if you see a kid doing his maths problem, he knit a pencil on his head. Sometimes do this. That's because naturally we are built in such a way that we want to stimulate. We are using that part of the brain. Now the brain is not like the hand, which is visible and we can see what's happening, but through a scanning machine, now they know that the prefrontal lobe is where our personalities are situated, where decision making happens. Think of the decision to come to this class was made in that part of the brain. The quality of cooperation, kindness when it's expressed, maternal love while breastfeeding are all expressed in the prefrontal lobe. On the other hand, doctors have found that in the back side of our brain we have something called the limbic cortex, where the more primitive functions of fear, fight, anxiety, sometimes phobias, when people just cannot get out of a habit pattern, those qualities are situated more in that part of the brain. And they have also now found, about 20 years ago, that there exists a neuronal link between the front part of the brain and the hind part. That to the degree one of them is strong, if one is activated, to that degree the other is deactivated. So the question we are asking is, or maybe you've noticed it in yourself or your friends, that hey, you look very calm. Oh, my boss has become very cheerful. He's been starting doing, meditation. He's been now doing yoga for a while. So what we want to do as we meditate, and I mentioned a point, earlier on, is that when we activate the prefrontal lobe through meditation, as we will learn in a technique, also Jayaji this morning was saying, focus at the point between the two eyebrows. So let's do a very practical exercise, because focusing here may seem like focusing or keeping the eyes at that point, which can actually give us a squint. The very simple way, I'll tell you how we focus on the point between the two eyebrows. You look up in front of you at a point not too far, and looking in that direction above the horizon, you close your eyes, but you continue looking at that point. Anybody who goes very deep in sleep, or an infant when they are sleeping, their eyes go up. Jayaji also mentioned that somebody left their body very consciously. Their relatives told us later that as he was passing, his eyes rolled up, because in the Bhagavad Gita it mentions that you can leave your ego or your soul, your prana, from this point also, and this is also the seat of enlightenment in spiritual, books. So, as we also do a simple nasal breath, when we inhale, that air comes up to this point and then it enters and goes down. There's only one part in our body which has very fine nerves going through, you might say, a disc, like a 25 paisa coin. We don't see those, but in between the nose and the prefrontal lobe, there is a disc which is perforated, through which go a lot of nerves. So let's do the simple practice of conscious nasal breathing. Let's sit up straight now. Please bring your hand in front of you. This is also another exercise to know where to keep our eye level. And let's take it up by about 15 degrees. So I'll come to your level and just check everybody. Yeah, keep gazing at that point. Keep your chin parallel. So your hand can go up. A little bit up. Wonderful. Yeah. Now your hand can go up slightly. Up. Perfect. Okay, now close your eyes but continue looking in that direction. Keep your eyes uplifted. This will require some practice and intention. And once in a while you may open your eyes to check if your gaze is there or it has come down. Okay, now you can bring the hand down. But continue sitting with your eyes closed, but behind closed eyelids, the eyeballs are slightly gazing upwards. And this is the true meaning of focusing at the point between the two eyebrows. It's more the direction, in the direction of the point between the two eyebrows. Keep your attention focused there. Sometimes you may see a small light at that point. And now if you can keep your eyes there, wonderful, but don't struggle too much with it, because we will bring our attention to the breathing cycle through the nose. Let's simply observe how the breath is entering the nostrils, traveling up the nose, and after a while, warm breath of air is leaving the nostrils. Cool air current coming in, warm currents going out. Very simple exercise of relaxed concentration. Let's do this for about a minute. You will notice that each breath is different from the other. And now also notice the pauses between the breath. The transition times, because that is where true rest is found. Once again, focus on the incoming breath, cool air rising in the nose, warm air leaving the nostrils. And again, try this time to keep your eyes up. You'll slowly have to make a habit of this. And once again, now focus on the pauses between the breath, between inhalation, exhalation, and exhalation and inhalation. Note also how the breath is becoming calmer and calmer by itself, slow and shallow, and the pauses between breath naturally are growing longer. With relaxed concentration once again, feel the incoming air currents, which are now subtler, and the outgoing currents. But with the incoming breath especially, sometimes we can even appreciate how they cool those nerves which are entering the front part of our brain. It's a physical sensation which can be felt as coolness, or sometimes as a mild electrical sensation because the nerves are involved. And now let's come back to enjoying the pauses once again, because that is the main purpose of meditation, to find those rest points where the breath is calm, sometimes stops for a while. The heart is calm, and enjoy those pauses. So let's sit in silence for about 2 minutes. Let's take a breath in through the nose and breathe out 3 times. Slowly open our eyes. Okay, so this was a short meditation practice. How was it in terms of how if you felt good versus a challenge that you faced? Any challenge? Rashmi ji, you want to share something? अच्छा लगा आपको, very good. Okay, Anuj.
Sorry, but honestly, sometimes I was sleeping in between.
You were sleeping.
I was
that's fine.
listening to your voice, but sometimes it was.
Sometimes meditation is a state actually of deep relaxation, and often our body can think, "Oh, I'm relaxing. It's time to sleep." Because Master says when we sleep, we are in a subconscious state. Then we are awake, we are in a conscious state. And he says, but meditative peace, in time we come to realize, is of a superconscious nature. We are much more alert, awake in the midst of activity, and we are still peaceful. But sleep does come once in a while. Okay. Jacob, you want to share?
Right, calmness.
Calmness, okay.
A lot of pressure here.
You felt some pressure over here. A lot of pressure. Okay, this is because we were focusing at this point, and sometimes our eyes can maybe strain in that direction. Also, I'm focusing at this point. I didn't notice, I should have noticed more carefully, but we can physically also strain at that point. But another thing is a lot of energy is moving. Blood flow happens at that time. I mentioned that people have found the brain starts acting more in the front part. So that could be part of it. But when taken slowly, now we'll go into it gradually. I just right away told you, okay, sit up and focus at that point. But there are ways in which we gradually do it. So that was one aspect. You want to share something? You felt slightly giddy. Okay. Normally does not happen. Okay, but in a good way or bad way, nausea or something? Okay, that can also happen sometimes because of relaxing, because we feel a jerk or something. Okay. Anyone else? Any questions so far?
I think my back pressure was stressed.
The back was stressed.
I wanted to just lean back.
Yes, and that's why we are training you to sit forward, away from that. We are, the natural way to sit is actually straight. A straight spine is very important. Why might a straight spine be important for meditation?
Energy flows.
They say that there are subtle energies that flow in our spine. For example, if you see somebody like this, park, you can easily say that his energy is low, which is to say that, that happens. That's how the body is made. It says in the Bhagavad Gita that, when Krishna tells Arjuna, pick up your bow, he's talking of the spine, because Arjuna is like, I'm not fighting, these are my people. And so Master Yogananda ji said the symbolic meaning was not just lift up the physical bow. He says, lift your bow. You are a warrior. There are things you have to do and overcome. So lifting the bow of the spine. There are subtle energies which are coming up. The devotion of the heart and such. And we want to keep that straight. Also, beautiful picture. This is the central nervous system. And there are two, parallel nerves. The vagus and the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nerves that come down, which deal with practically every function of the body. And that is called the autonomous function. When I was saying that the heart is pumping, the breath is happening, digestion is happening, salivation happens, so many things, they happen automatically because of those nerve systems. And in yoga, they believe, sometimes you'll see somebody do this yoga posture, as we were doing. Or, get into this posture. You wonder what's really happening over here. Well, they are stretching their spine. When you stretch the spine, when you stretch the nerves, Yogananda ji said the nerves are purified. Sometimes in yoga postures, this evening from 5 to 6 we have a session. We go into a yoga posture, we stretch and then we breathe. Because you open up the nerves and you breathe air, you breathe prana over there. This is a very effective way to banish tension from the nerves. And then the nerves have much more life force. Actually, it's very easy over here to explain. The life force, prana, comes into the medulla at this point. This is the medulla oblongata. And then enters down and basically goes into the nerves. And through the nerves, we are able to perform all the function. One point J.G. was making was, he said, stop the wastage. He mentioned just one point, sexual moderation. But wastage can also happen through too much television watching. You're wasting all this energy that is coming out there, or too much reading the newspaper, or too much talking, which is not helping. So again, we equate meditation with moderation of senses. We equate it with some silence, periods of silence, or minimal activity, or necessary activity. Because we want to see beautiful. We want to points of energy leak or conservation, and then there is this energy in the base of the spine. Also, a lot of energy coming into this. These are detailed subjects, but when the spine is straight, we are more awake, more alert. So in meditation, we want to do that. Now, did anybody face the challenge of the mind running? Wandering, yeah? Yes. I think everybody must have. And that's why again and again I was speaking, because we try to focus at this point. What's happening over there? Or the ear sends us stimulus, this is happening, and I thought I heard popcorns popping over there, and smell of the popcorns and whatnot. So we see that as much as we are trying, there is all this happening. So Paramhansa Yogananda ji says the mind is actually a monkey mind. He says it's nature, it's been made in a way to go out, and that's why we are always curious about what's happening outside of ourselves. And he says, but if you want to meditate deeply, he defined meditation as, one of the definitions he gave was concentrating on God or one of his aspects. And he says there are 8 universal aspects in which everyone can feel God. He says peace, calmness, joy, also known as bliss, love, power, also known as energy, wisdom. When we meditate, sometimes a lot of wisdom, proper discrimination comes to us, and then light. Sometimes we can see an inner light, or we can hear sound, Om sound, or sound of the different chakras. So he said that these are the ways in which meditation should be going. Ideally, he said meditation is absorption in one of these, but meditation is also when we sit up straight and simply gaze at the spiritual eye. That is meditation. The only challenge is the mind runs away. So Yogananda ji said, before we sit in that state for longer and longer periods, what we need to do is develop the muscle and the power of concentration. And for that, he taught a technique. He said it's an actual muscle. He says, by again and again practicing this is a technique called Hong Saw. And there are many different traditions, many people practice concentration developing in different ways. But he says by doing Hong Saw, by focusing on the breath, he says the concentration can be made so one-pointed, he says that you realize that these 8 qualities are inside of you, which they are. And he says then you become, you witness them, you see them. It's like when we are in a noisy environment, all we can focus is the noise outside. And that's why many ashrams are away, because it gives us an opportunity, an environment to witness what's happening inside. Right now we witnessed there was some peace, calmness, joy, but there was also disturbance of mind. So now we'll do a practice of Hong Saw, by which we will go beyond the restlessness of the mind. Okay? Now if you write there Hong Saw. Hong Saw is a very simple practice, very ancient. Paramhansa Yogananda ji said this is actually very old. He didn't invent this exercise. It comes from the Sanskrit phrase Aham Saha. In the books you will receive, very beautifully he is explaining this technique. Aham Saha means I am he. That we are all individualized expressions of the great reality. Call it God, call it spirit. And Yogananda said, as we meditate using Hong Saw mantra, he says we realize our oneness with that reality. And so we'll practice Hong Saw for about, let's say 5 minutes, 3 minutes, and then sit in silence for 2 minutes to feel its after effects. If you go home and you're not able to practice this for longer periods, do not worry. It requires a longer practice for many years and months. But let's do it for a short while right now and see how we feel, okay? I'll borrow some chair over here. And to prepare our body for deeper relaxation, let's practice that double inhalation we learned this morning, yeah? Tensing the body, right sitting in our chairs and relaxing. because we want the body to be relaxed. Again, tense, 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 relax. 3 more times. Tense your legs and buttocks. Relax. 2 more times. And last time. And relax. And now sit on the front side of the chair, away from the back. Try to keep the spine straight, but without any tensions. And if you really need to be against the back of the chair, that's fine also. Close your eyes and gently lift your gaze behind closed eyelids to the point between the 2 eyebrows in that direction. Imagine you're looking at a rising moon, very comfortably, engaging you. Mentally scan your body. Visualize your straight spine like a tree trunk, energy flowing upwards towards the brain. Mentally visualize your legs, thighs, calves, buttocks free from tension. Take a deep breath, remove those tensions, or visualize light or space in that body part where you might be experiencing any kind of tense feeling. Scan the stomach, chest, arms, shoulders and face. The entire body is now relaxed, ready to go deep. Meditation. Sitting in this posture, fixing our gaze at the point between the 2 eyebrows. Let us recall one of those 8 experiences: peace, calmness, joy, love, light, sound, energy, or wisdom. Peace is the most easy to feel, most universal. Try to feel one of these in the center of your forehead. Practice of Om Saw. It's a technique of concentration which will bring us back to this state of meditation, calm absorption in the spiritual life, experiencing God in one of the different aspects. Observe the breath as it comes in and goes out without any control. And for the duration of the next incoming breath, mentally chant Om without making any sound or movement. Feel your incoming breath is whispering that sound, Om. Enjoy the pause, and then the outgoing breath, mentally chant Saw for that duration. Om with the incoming breath, Saw with the outgoing breath. Let's practice this for a very brief 2 minutes, but with relaxed, deep attention. If the mind wanders, quickly bring it back to this practice. Now gently keep the technique aside, but continue to sit in silence, gazing at the point between the two eyebrows, once again focusing on one of those aspects. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Slowly open our eyes. Was this good? Yes? Now we have to multiply it by 2, 3, 5, 10 when we go back home. That is all it takes. Meditation is a very simple exercise. It involves sitting with a straight spine. It involves keeping our attention and gaze at this point, watching the breath. Why the breath? Because the breath state is linked to the mind. And the mind is restless, the breath becomes restless. And Yogananda ji said, much easier to control the breath than to control the mind. He says, what is answer? Follow the breath, and you will see by Hong-Saw, you will read in your book, we can attain the state of breathlessness. When the breath stops for a moment, sometimes for long periods. And in those states, Yogananda ji said, this life force which is coming into the body all the time is not utilized to pump the lungs and the heart to that degree which we are normally accustomed to. And he says, then what happens? He says, then all that life force goes into healing us, prolonging our lifespan, doing different functions for the body. Okay? But as we all can see, it requires a daily commitment. I was mentioning to somebody, are you ready for a twice daily practice? And slowly, slowly, we make this a practice. It has been found, we will give you a handout today of the benefits of meditation. As we meditate, we become more and more peaceful, calm, our sense of decision making, intuition develops, foresight develops. We can, this quality of love, cooperation, all these things take a good turn. Also our memory. People have found on brain scans now that when brain reduces for whatever reason, he says, when you start meditating, the brain size is regained to quite a degree. So it's a wonderful, very scientific practice for those practical reasons also. Okay? Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Should the hands be placed while meditating?
Yes, so hands, I was placing my hands up like this at the junction of the thigh and the stomach because it helps keep the spine straight. By the way, just to know, we will follow up on the next weekend with a 4-hour, sometimes 6 hours meditation workshop because there are many points, there's a whole different book. But I shared with you Hong-Saw technique, which is very central to our path because Yogananda ji has shared it in the health book, and it is actually as simple as it seems right now. If you read carefully, you can build up on that practice. But there we discuss how the hand should be, how the place where you sit should be, what direction to face, but those are too many details to cover. But the point I wanted to make was meditation has many physical, spiritual, emotional health benefits, and it is actually a very central part of yoga practice. With International Yoga Day, that awareness has come, oh, we should follow a yogic diet, do yoga postures. But I would say, if you are even remotely interested, bet on meditation and make it a practice for 10 minutes a day, and you will see that you will just want to do it more and more and more. You might define meditation on one way as active sleep. So you are not sleeping, but you are deriving the same rest. And it's a wonderful way to recharge our body. Okay? Anything else? Any questions? Yeah, that is also for a detailed explanation, I would say, but it is a Sanskrit mantra, Aham Saha, I am he. See, the whole basis of Sanatana Dharma Hinduism is that if there's the Paramatma, God, absolute spirit, and each person in creation is a reality of it. We are called Jivatma sometimes. So the Jivatma has to unite to the Paramatma. Or in Christianity they say the soul or the spirit must unite itself to the absolute spirit, which is how many cultures in Christianity define God. So in meditation what is happening, Yogananda ji said, actually it's a finer point. As the breath calms down, our ego, also Yogananda ji said, starts offering itself from here. This is the seat of ego. And he said the energy starts moving to this point, which is the state of spiritual enlightenment. So slowly we see that our individual self starts losing that identity. I mean, why would somebody, for example, be calm after meditation? Because you don't take things so personally. So somebody hits into your car and you say, that was not a good thing to do, but I'm not going to get upset about it for the rest of my day. So you deal with it the way you have to deal it, but you don't take it very personally. If somebody insults you, I mean, you'll deal with it appropriately, but you won't take it like, how dare you say this to me? Do you know who I am? And XYZ, that whole thing goes. But that we become impersonal in our interactions, and that is very important because then you can focus on the real task. For example, if you're an artist, I was recently in an art academy in Italy, and I asked the main lady over there, I said, so many artists have just simply gone mad when they become so great. I said, how can you explain that? And she said, you see, when you become creative, when you have these ideas, if you cannot, the ideas and energy in yoga, we say it comes up our spine. And it has to be, this is the seat where you finally make decision making and you execute your work. Or for a doctor, and as I said, for a student, he makes that decision at this point. But you have to go through the ego. So if all this creativity comes through you and you say, oh, look at me. I am the artist. I made this. I can do that. I am better than you. And she says, if this goes on too long, it will lead to insanity. And it is a small thing. But on the other hand, like I saw Kriyananda ji so many times say, he says, people were asking, how did you do so much? He says, the thing is, I have not done anything. He says, God did it through me. My Guru did it through me. He said, I prayed to them for a certain thing, and he said, it happens through us. So as we realize that we are channels and part of our process, and meditation very directly, I think, helps release the grip of the ego. Because see, it can remain very theoretical, but when you feel a deep sense of release, even in 2 minutes meditation, and then maybe 20 minutes, then you say, I'm liking this feeling so much more. Actually, people who are able to meditate long, they give up the whole fear of death also, because you are able to remain without breath for a long period, and you say, my goodness, this is so much better, and I'm so much more aware than when I was breathing, and sometimes when I'm breathing fast, which is very undesirable. So we realize that death actually, as the Gita promises, does come as the best release into a higher consciousness rather than some unknown zone. So meditation has all those benefits. I would encourage you to explore it in that book, Growing Health and Vitality, in the last 2 chapters. But we will offer a more detailed workshop. Actually, we pick up meditation by teaching Hong Saw and take it all the way to Kriya Yoga. And just to mention in one line, in Kriya Yoga, Paramhansa Yogananda ji said what happens is, we spoke of the energy body, and he says our habits manifest in the physical body, but he says they are all actually stored in the energy body. And when he says we can raise our energy, and Kriya Yoga is a pranayam, so we can gain control on this inner energy. And he says when again and again you can bring it to this point, he says you burn the seeds of karma, past karma, bad karma, good karma, till in the end he says you live in this world, but you're not attached by this world. You're not like Kriyananda is saying, I didn't write those books, he said, I didn't write this music. It's like a gift to his Guru, it's a gift to all of us. So we have to see our own lives as parents, as doctors, businessmen, that we live, we serve, we offer it, and when we offer ourselves, Jayaji made a very interesting point. He says, maybe all we have to do is get out of the way, that when we can keep the ego aside, something much more beautiful comes and fills that vacuum, that void. So through Kriya Yoga, Paramhansa Yogananda ji said our spiritual evolution can be hastened and quickened, and I would very much encourage us to consider that step of meditation. Okay? Yes. Let's interact personally now, because we'll take a 5-minute break and then come back for our next session, which is on affirmations. Okay, so let's break up for 5 minutes and have some snacks. At a certain point, I think I once, came from Mumbai airport with a guest who had to see Swami Kriyananda at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I came at around 3:30, and I saw Swamiji's office light was on. And he used to write books at that time, so I thought, oh, we won't have our morning meeting, Swamiji's not sleeping tonight. But anyways, I was ready, and in the morning, bang at 7 o'clock, we saw Swamiji, we sat for almost 45 minutes, and he mentioned in the beginning, he says, I didn't sleep very well yesterday, I was writing, but I thought you didn't sleep at all practically, But we must, it's like Einstein, somebody said that he would ignore his food for 1 or 2 days sometimes, forget all about it. So when we do get absorbed, I think it must be happening, but Master told us not to, he said, follow the path of moderation and balance with regards to food, with meditation also. And somebody once asked him, but why are we not so austere and we want to sit in the snow and meditate long hours? And Master said, when God gives you the tests right where you are, if you can face them, he says that is your austerity. So let's keep it to that. But this is a beautiful topic of affirmations about how to change ourselves. And you want the screen also? No. Pradnya, you can turn off the screen over here.
So before I take up this topic of affirmations, I would just like to share with you some little exercise that let us we do some, maybe we are doing some planning, okay, we are doing some, whatever activity, because we always do the activities in 3 stages. Let us, for example, if we are going to organize a birthday party. So what is the first thing you do? So you plan, and then what do you do it? What is the next thing you do? Yes. I mean that comes
Execution.
Whatever it is to be.
Organizing. Now plan, organizing, and then execution.
You plan
Organize.
who is to be invited, what are the things you have to do, and so what that will come all in planning. So now what is the next step you would take?
Execution.
Actual program, but yeah. So you actually you start putting, let us say you have to buy, you do the purchases, or you do whatever the things you have to maintain or whatever organize, let us say, and then ultimately the final product is there, which is coming back into place. So there are 3 steps, and if you just divide them, so you see the first thing is happening at the level of thoughts. You're just thinking about it, and then you put energy into your thought process, because once you have a ready plan, you put energy, you go and buy the material, whatever is to be done, you invite the people, again the energy goes into that, and finally the physical reality of the product or whatever is the thing, whether it is constructing a house, whether it is organizing a party, that actually comes into being. So you see, all these things, whether they are happening at micro level or macro level, they are always happening at 3 stages, and our bodies are also not different. If you see some of the Vedic literature, they say that we have 5 koshas, 5 layers in our body. And what are those 5 layers? The first layer, let us say this is the soul, which is the essence of our individual self. The first body is actually made up of only thoughts, and we call it as a causal body, or we also, Yogananda gave it the name of ideational body, that it is an idea, that we all exist as an idea in the cosmic sphere, and this thought body ultimately generates an energy body around it, and which he said that is the astral body. So you see, depending on the quality of thoughts, we have an energy body around it, and this energy ultimately determines this outer shell that we call a physical body, which is the thing which we relate to and which we say that okay, this is my body. So practically speaking, we are having 3 bodies. We have a body of thoughts, we have a body of energy, and we have a body of physical nature. And since they are all interdependent, whatever is happening in the physical body can actually be traced back to what is happening with our energy body and thought bodies. So there is a very beautiful statement in our Hindu literature. What it says is that it is the food which determines the body. You know, the statement is "Jaisa bhay an, paisa hoye man." And you know, the food determines the quality of the body. But then Buddha also gave us a very important statement. What was that? That there is not only a physical diet that we have, there is also a mental diet that we are imbibing. Not only the thoughts of the people which are affecting us, the kind of ideas, the kind of material we are reading, the kind of media influence on us, and also our own thoughts and feelings. So the food for mind, we can say, is what? The food for mind is the thoughts. And ultimately we become what we think. This is what Buddha said some 1,000 years ago. And so this is just to give an emphasis that how thoughts are important. And if we are not handling our thoughts carefully, somehow these body, which is directly dependent on it, is not going to work. Whatever quick fix solution, we may try. Sometimes we just go and we do a patchwork. It is just like, the wall is going and showing signs of seepage and you put some plaster over it. So some days you can just go through. But ultimately, fundamentally, it is the foundation that is weak and seepage is coming from there. So unless we change our thought patterns, no quick fix solution can be there for our body. And most of the chronic ailments that we are dealing these days have their roots in the thought patterns. Now, having said that, how these thought patterns they affect us, if you see the thoughts, just let me give you a brief small diagram of our brain, how it is. And if you see, there is a very small part of the brain. We say that, okay, we are thinking. And if right now I am talking and you are listening. So what is happening? There is an exchange of information between us, and this exchange is happening on a conscious level because I'm conscious, I'm alert, you're also not sleeping, and so you are registering what I'm saying. So which part of your brain is active? Right now it is your conscious part, which is a very small area of the brain, which is registering this information and is making you understand what I'm talking. So this conscious sphere of the brain, has whatever act we do has actually a direct bearing on there is a strata in the brain which we call as a subconscious mind, and it affects this part. How the thoughts, I'm just telling you how the thought processing is happening in the brain. So let us say we learn how to drive a car. Initially, driving a car sometimes can be really very difficult task. You have to focus on the gear shift, sometimes you have to look at the pedal where it is there, you have to also see in the front what movement is happening. But by and by, what happens? When you keep on doing this task again and again, what happens?
Habit.
It becomes a habit for you. So you become used. Even when you become a driver, you just drive it without even looking at your gear shift knob and where the pedals are. This is because it has become a habit pattern for you. How it becomes a habit pattern? This is because there is a mechanism which nature has given us, that when we do a task repeatedly and consciously, what happens? That it percolates down into the subconscious mind, because subconscious mind is like a receptacle. It is just receiving what you are doing, and ultimately it makes a groove in the subconscious mind, so that when later on you have to do that task again, it just comes back automatically and you're able to do it. So this is a very important protective mechanism that nature has given us. Otherwise, just imagine what will happen if you have to learn to drive, every day in the morning how to drive it. It will be so cumbersome. But then there is a sad aspect to it also, because we misuse this nature-given, faculty. That whatever we are doing consciously, here the key is that, because this subconscious receptacle is just passive, it is just receiving what you are putting into it. It is just like a computer, that if you whatever web pages you are visiting, your program is actually ultimately putting a lot of cookies and a lot of temporary folders depending on what sites you are visiting, so that next time you visit the page, your job is easier done. So let us say that I have a habit of getting up late in the morning, and I am doing it daily. I wake up at 7 a.m. and I wake up at 7 a.m. every day. So what happens? There is a groove in my mind which is strengthening every day because I am doing it again and again and again, the same task, and I wake up at the same time in the morning. Now, if I have to change it, one day somebody tells me that, okay, you must get up early in the morning. You should get up at 6 or maybe 6:30. What will happen?
The mind is not ready.
Mind is not ready. So what will happen?
Will
I'll have enough. It will resist. Yes, it will resist. And this is what happens with most of our habit patterns, which we have developed not only in this lifetime, but if you see the Vedic sciences, they say that we have those grooves. Maybe from millions of incarnations we have done some tasks. Some people have habits of getting into anxiety. If some patient comes to me and they say that I have no reason to get anxious, but I am getting anxious. What is it? This is because in our recent past, or maybe in our remote past, we have developed this groove of anxiety in our subconscious mind, and it has become so entrenched that even when the outside stimulus is not there, the signal my conscious brain is receiving from the subconscious mind is just to get anxious out of no reason at all. So this is how most of our psychiatric problems, which can be like depression, or it could be, just of having negative thoughts. It could be having thoughts of, jealousy, or it could be having any negativity because maybe sometime in the past I was depressed, but just because I have a subconscious mind, which is, it is just to give you a glimpse at how subconscious mind starts hijacking our conscious mind, and even if we purposely try to control it, we become unable. This is because these grooves are so deep. So what is the solution?
Subconsciously react.
Change the habits. Change the habits, but that is what we have to do. How to do that? How is the question? We know what is to be done.
First, we have to come to the neutral mode, something like that.
Yeah. First, so how to come to the neutral mode? Yeah. See, again, I will get back to some of the Vedic wisdom. They say that use a thorn to take out a thorn. Isn't that what we do? कांटा लग जाता है तो हम कांटे से निकालते हैं. So how to do that? So now we are, if let us say we have a habit pattern, and this habit pattern is of something like how thoughts. Ultimately, what are these? These are thought patterns in the brain. A thought pattern has become deeper and deeper because we have practiced them again and again. So now we have to develop an opposite thought pattern so that this will get erased. But it will take some time. Why it will take some time? I mean, it may not take some time, but it will take the proportionate energy directly proportional to how much energy has gone actually into engraving them. So how is that going to be possible? This is because conscious mind has very limited reserve. What we do, that is why you wake up, you decide, okay, I'm going to wake up in the morning at 6:30. But then what happens? Again, your mind hijacks, because although you are putting conscious effort, but still we are not able to do that. So because that energy, that proportionate energy is not there. This energy is limited, but this energy is massive. Just to give you an example how massive it is, imagine there is a piece of land and it is all submerged in water. So what do you call any piece of land which is all everywhere surrounded by water?
Island.
It's an island. So this is an island. But then if you see, this island is connected with the land mass underneath it, which is nothing, but it is all a huge mass of land which is all connected to the planet. So you see, this island is the conscious mind, and this huge mass of land is actually the subconscious mind, which is so massive in size that it has this practically has no influence on it. Now how to influence it? So we make something as bigger or maybe bigger than this land mass. So Swami says that above it we have a sky, and this sky is actually much more bigger and much more influential than this subconscious land mass. And where is this sky located in our brains? We have just talked with you that, yes. So this prefrontal part of the brain, up till now, I did my MBBS, I joined my MBBS in 1992. more than 20 years I'm into medical practice, and in those days people used to think that frontal lobes have no useful role to play. And sometimes, people used to do frontal lobectomies as a part of therapeutic procedure just because there was nothing extra they could do. And it is only in the last 20 years or last 15 years, I would say, that it has started dawning on the scientists that it has a very useful purpose. And this is the seat of, as Yoga Aditya ji has talked, that of, creativity, solutions, ability, inspirations. And when you tap into the superconscious state, you actually get that help which can go into the subconscious realm and give you the support which you need to change those groove patterns. And this is what we are going to do in affirmations. So what are affirmations? Affirmations are set of positive thoughts which we are going to say repeatedly, consciously, with lot of concentration, and also taking the help from the superconscious mind so that we can change the subconscious patterns. Is that clear? So this is, that we have the thoughts. It is what is the affirmation. The affirmations are set of positive thoughts, because ultimately we need to understand that there are some negative habit patterns in us. They need to be changed, and how to change them. So we have to have opposite in the positive. Let us say we have negative thought patterns, so we have to have a positive thought pattern. But just because we need to have some more help, something bigger than us, so we need to tap into the superconscious state, which is going to come from the frontal lobe. That is why these affirmations have to be done in a proper order, and I'm going to explain to you that how these affirmations, what are the steps we use. So let us say we have to have somebody who is not feeling happiness in him, who needs to affirm himself for joy, and we will do that as an exercise here. How to do these affirmations? So first we will say that affirmation loudly, just to focus our mind on that, because our mind is already scattered, everything, noise coming here, there, traffic noise outside, some thoughts about the planning that I have to do tomorrow. So you say it loudly so that your attention is there on that positive thought, and then you slowly repeat it loudly a few times, and then you say it quietly. Why you say quietly? Because you need to understand the meaning of the words behind that affirmation. It should not be done absent-mindedly. You see, you have to have your conscious mind in the present moment. Otherwise, what is the point of just saying that I want to be happy, but at the back of my mind I'm thinking that, okay, what should I prepare for the breakfast? And after doing quietly, I need to take it into whispers. I need to just say that statement whispers into whispers, and maybe just silently, mentally, so that it goes deeper and deeper into me, and it can percolate down into the subconscious mind. But then the final thing which I need here is that I need help, because my own mind is not going to erase those habit patterns. So I need to take the help of the superconscious mind. So how that superconscious help is going to arrive? By meditating deeply in your spiritual life. This is the point between the eyebrows, as we just shared with you, that when you are in that state, completely calm and concentrated, you offer that change that you want to bring in yourself to that higher power, to that dignity, to that higher source in you, to that higher self in you, and you ask for help, that please bring this change in me, because I want to change and I need your help. So you see, this is the final but the most important aspect, that asking for the superconscious help. So with these 5 stages, let us do one affirmation now. And this is a book, I just want to share with you. This is a book written by Swami Kriyananda ji, and it is a compilation of almost 52 affirmations. And if you see the index, these are all scientific healing affirmations for self-healing. And we have affirmations about success, love, happiness, security, contentment, good health, even-mindedness, positive thinking, in number of. So you can choose one topic for maybe a week and work on that and see how it helps us in transforming. So we will be choosing just one because we have very short time. So I'll take this affirmation of happiness. So affirmation of happiness, let us please sit with our backs straight and we can even close our eyes and focus your concentration at the point between the eyebrows. Just try to calm yourself down. First, let us take a deep breath and try to internalize your energy. Just try to withdraw your mind from the outside noise. And let us withdraw your mind from all the planning and the worries that were going in the back of your mind. And as I am going to read these words, first you will read them after me and you will say them loudly. And later on, you will say them quietly. So the affirmation is that I vow from today onwards.
I vow from today onwards
To be happy under every circumstance.
to be happy under every circumstance.
I came from God's joy.
I came from God's joy.
I am joy.
I am joy.
I vow from today onwards
I vow from today
to
onwards
be happy under every circumstance.
to be happy under every circumstance.
I came from God's joy.
I came from God's joy.
I am joy.
I am joy.
I vow from today onwards
I vow from today onwards
to be happy under every circumstance.
to be happy under every circumstance.
Just focus on the meaning of the words. You can say it quietly now. I came from God's joy.
I came from God's joy.
I am joy.
I am joy.
Let us whisper it now to ourselves. I vow from today onwards
I vow from
to be happy under every circumstance.
to be happy under every circumstance.
I came from God's joy.
I came from God's joy.
I am joy.
I am joy.
And say it mentally now in your own mind. I will repeat it for you. I vow from today onwards.
I vow
Say it mentally. To be happy under every circumstance. I came from God's joy. I am joy. And as you're sitting in meditation, focusing at the point between the eyebrows, now offer this thought to the divine, to the highest source in yourself, and offer it and ask for his help. It gives you the courage and strength to be happy under all circumstances, because you are a part of him. And since God is joy, so you are joy. And let us offer it one more time as a prayer, and mentally only. I vow from today onwards to be happy under every circumstance. I came from God's joy. I am joy. Sit in silence for about a minute. Let the feelings go deeper into every cell of our brain. Try to feel the flow of joy into every fiber of your being. Yes, if we have any questions, we can take those. And after that, we'll be going into another session of music healing, which will be done by Aditya ji.
Yes, I have a question. So about the affirmations, if we really want to change some pattern, which we never know how long it has been ingrained inside us. So this is something that, like, if just once a day, how many times should we really repeat it, or
See, it should be at the back of your mind, I think the whole day. But then Swami said that certain times of the day are very crucial. Like when the subconscious is actually more receptive to what we are saying. And these are the twilight times. Like when we wake up in the morning, we are still in that twilight zone, that we are little sleepy, little waking up. And it is that time that subconscious mind is actually receiving, in the receiving mode. So whatever you instill at that point of time, it goes much deeper. Similarly, when we go to bed and we are just going to sleep, at that time what you put your thought, with a lot of concentration, it goes deeper into the subconscious mind. And in fact, that is what, scientifically speaking, that whatever is the last thought with which we go to sleep is actually the first thought with which we wake up in the morning.
Actually, throughout the night.
So throughout the night, it is working on your subconscious mind. Yeah. And that is how it works in the, when we leave the planet. I mean, when we leave the body, at the time of death, whatever is the last thought is actually the first thought which creates the blueprint for the next birth. This is how the Krishna is saying to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. So, we practice death every day. Sleeping is like a mini death for us. So, that we should share some of those wisdoms, in different classes, but that is not the topic for today.
Is it possible to put this affirmation in subconscious mind of babies and kids?
Oh yes, why not? Because see, ultimately, babies, for children, they look forward to their parents. And Swami said that children learn most of the things by osmosis. So whatever is the environment we'll be creating in our homes, children are much more good in observing than listening. So they will definitely.
Is it through the same process, loudly crying?
Yeah, but then we'll have to little improvise it, depending upon the age of the child, how much he can understand. And but I would rather be saying that don't be pushy for the children, because let them absorb these things by watching you, what you are doing, rather than by telling them what to do, because time will come when they will realize about those things. So don't worry about that.
Thank you, Amarji.
Yes.
I'll stand here and speak so I can see all sides. Can you turn on some lights over there? Or lights? So, I will be speaking for the next 15 minutes about music and how it heals. And I want to start with a story which is related actually to the question that was just asked. Kriyananda ji gave a tune to one of a very traditional chant in India called Sri Ram Jai Ram. And it so happened in Ananda village, where our community is, I think the story is from there. A certain family used to play this chant a lot. Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. And one day they had a little baby. I think he was 3 or 4 years old boy. And he must have done some mischief, and his mom called him and she started scolding him about that. And he kind of looked up puzzled and he said, Sri Ram Jai Ram. And the mom was like, what kind of response is that? And she met Swamiji not long after, and she said, I was scolding my son, and he looked up and started singing Sri Ram Jai Ram. And Swami said, you see, that is a chant that induces calmness. And he says, the boy just, as children, who was asking that question, somebody, that as children, they feel it. And the same thing came up at different times during the day. Feel your diet. Feel what your body needs. Are you really hungry? So, so in the same way, we listen to certain music and you can almost predict what is the consciousness of the person behind it. I'll give you another very interesting story I read. This is a book called Musicophilia, written by a psychologist in New York. And he's now in his close to 80 years old actually. And he said that his friend lived during the Second World War and lost one of his friends who was a fighter pilot, and in his memory had written a musical piece, instrumental, no words, and had written many other music pieces. And as part of his service towards, after retirement, he started going to orphanages and old age homes and different groups and communities just to offer them a musical experience in the evening. And one evening he was performing in an old age home, and he performed many pieces of music. But when it came to this one, and as he was performing this, an elderly person, kind of his eyes got watered, and he got up and he just left the room. And this person could see that something disturbed this gentleman. So after his performance, he went out and he said, I'm sorry if there's anything that didn't suit you. How can I help you? What was it, if I may know? And he said, oh, no, it's not your fault at all, nothing. He said, I don't know, but just listening to your music reminded me of a friend I lost in the World War II who was a fighter pilot. And this was another person. And then this musician told the author of this book, he says, I was amazed how my thought, which went behind that music, evoked the memory in that person without any words. And the author made the point that what we listen to, what we think, even our thoughts, sometimes you see you're thinking of somebody and they call you. Likewise, the music that we listen, whether in Bollywood or this language or that, actually so many times it happens, you're listening to a language of another, music of another language and you don't understand a word, but you can make out it's about this, it's about that. So be very careful. Kriyananda ji composed 450 pieces of music and he used to say, be very careful about what you're listening. He would often say that, music that has a strong downbeat, dum, dum, dum. He says that affirms the ego and it brings the attention on oneself. And also he would say that, for example, in his own compositions, he tried to inspire people. He tried to bring out, actually his music, he called it philosophy in song. That he would take a funny piece of, philosophy or an interesting part and he would try to convey it. And that's a wonderful way. Actually, nursery rhymes are nothing but telling children about certain habits and how they can pick it up and how this is good, that is good. And music has been used as a very powerful tool for that. You will also know many researches have now come which have shown that certain instrumental music like classical music, uplifting music, has a very beautiful effect not only on the growth or our moods but on plants itself. And Kriyananda ji used to say that many times, we choose a certain music because we say, oh, this will make me feel good. But you see, on the spiritual path, one thing we have been told to be very careful is our likes and dislikes. So if somebody is in a sad mood, there is a very high chance, believe it or not, that they're going to choose sad music and reinforce that quality and listen to it because there is a power to that too. Whereas what should be ideally done is sing something more inspiring, more uplifting. I also mentioned this morning about a friend who suggested that when people sing certain notes or certain pieces of music, she has seen many of her patients recover from thyroid problems. So keep that in mind, and I would say maybe even see how you can start learning playing an instrument. I was never musical till I came to Ananda. I remember actually it was my third day of joining the ashram in 2008, and one of the fellow monks, he asked me, he says, Christmas is coming, are you up for some singing? And I said, okay. I said, but I've never sung in my life. But he taught me that day how to play the harmonium. And I think music, listening, but also playing and singing can be a wonderful way for us to channelize our energy and thoughts. A very powerful spiritual practice is actually to sing a song that has already been sung by another saint or your guru. For example, Sri Ram Jairam, Kriyananda ji said that once he had to go to meet an artist in a part of LA where a lot of pubs and bars were situated, and the person used to sing there. And Swami said that I didn't want to be affected by that energy, so he says, as I stepped out of my car, he started singing Sri Ram Jairam, and he said as he sung, he just felt there was this protective, calm blanket around him. He said, as I walked in that street, he said I could feel that each this drinking place and bar and eatery was kind of inviting me, trying to pull me, but he said because I had that protection, I was not affected by it. So I just wanted to touch on this theme. Of course, now more and more restaurants, hospitals are coming to realize that, especially in their lobby area, if they play some instrumental music, some uplifting music, people like it. But I leave on this note that there is actually a much deeper reason why we like classical music or uplifting instrumental music, especially, for example, the music of the flute or sitar or even the drum, which when played well actually can uplift our consciousness. The reason is that when, one of the slides Dr. Amar showed was that of these energy centers in our body called chakras. And when we meditate, Yogananda ji said at a certain time he taught this technique called Om technique. And he said during that, when we meditate, we can listen actually to the Om sound. He said the Om sound actually can not be pronounced in the proper way outwardly because The same Om sound becomes Amen in the Christian tradition, it becomes Amin in the Sufi tradition, and so on and so forth. Those are derivatives, different ways in which people have defined it. But he said universally, it can be listened in deep meditation, and that is where its profound effect and brain changing quality, healing quality comes. That's why sometimes even when we receive a blessing, they say Om, Om, Hari Om, or Om, 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 because that Om has a healing power, but it has to be heard. And there are other chakras in our body which correspond to sitar, the veena, and the flute and such. So in meditation we can listen to those sounds of instruments and also of nature. So see how we can surround ourselves with those natural sounds and how they might affect our consciousness, because this doctor was making the point in the book. He says, as people are now living longer lives, he said, I am personally seeing more and more cases who are simply reporting that this song keeps playing in my mind, which I heard in my friend's wedding 40 years ago. Where did that come from? So when Dr. Amar was saying we have a subconscious mind, doctors are now discovering that there is no way to explain it. Or somebody says, I'm listening my nursery rhyme in my dream every night. What's happening, doctor? And they are saying that a small part of your subconscious is opening because now you're living longer and experiencing those things. Maybe the brain and nerves can sometimes weaken. So I think the best thing we can do to create a spiritual environment is to support it by infusing it with positive vibrations. A very powerful tool which we all have is our own voice, which is said to be the greatest musical instrument. So when we speak to others, when we are trying to make a point, we should try to be calm and see. Swamiji says that our voice can help other people achieve a calm consciousness. So this is something to explore about music. I would certainly, if you come back later after the session, I can guide you into Kriyanandaji's music. He has recorded many mantras, many Western classical music, a lot of Bengali music and devotional music. So maybe you can take one CD today and also explore it. Or on your phone, you can download an app called Radio Ananda. Radio Ananda, this is a 24-hour free inspirational music of Swamiji that we offer from our community in America. And you can listen to that music wherever you are on your phone. But it's a great gift. Kriyanandaji used to say, if you want to know me, he says, listen to my music. And it's beautiful. He by the way used to speak 9 languages and composed music in many different languages. So any questions on this topic? So everybody will play the harmonium? Yeah, singing. We also have a choir over here. We sing on every Wednesday evening. Our choir director is traveling for the next 2 weeks, but if you're interested in singing, please do come and see how you can benefit. And I remember once Paramhansa Yogananda ji made a list of, I think, 30 songs or so, different chants. And he says, this chant is for developing devotion. This chant is for developing the quality of calmness. This one is to develop more nobility. So see how you can surround yourself with that, because honestly, recently I was in somebody's car and they were going between these FM stations, 6 of them or 5. Not one had anything worthwhile to share. I was amazed, because even 15 years ago when I was in college, there was some good music, there was still there, but it has just come down to banging people's ears with this and that. So make a choice, and I would say, see how good music can change and benefit you. Okay? So let's take a quick break, or if you're ready, we can go into another 15-minute session. Okay, so this will be our last session for this evening on Paramhansa Yogananda ji's healing techniques and what he said about prayers, the power of prayers, how we can use prayers to help other people's health. So I'll invite Brahmacharini Blezy to come and share a few words on that topic, and maybe even talk about the book for detail in this morning.
So how is everybody?
Fine.
Fine. Feeling healthy? Feeling radiant? Can everybody hear me, or
No, stand.
like the mic?
Stand. Mic.
Okay. So since
we've had a full day and a lot of good information, techniques, very practical, which we can take home and live in our daily lives. This is a quick introductory session for towards Masters Paramhansa Yogananda's healing techniques, so I won't be diving deep into the theory, but I want to mention a few essential points on Paramhansa Yogananda's healing techniques, and then we will directly dive into experiential techniques, 2 techniques I will take up for today. And then for those who are interested, we can always take it offline and pursue it further. But let's keep our hearts and minds open to a new form of healing which Paramhansa Yogananda brought into this world. Now, Paramhansa Yogananda's practices and healing techniques take it up from the very highest point. I think I may need to go away from this a while.
Please, we'll bring it there.
I think it should be okay. I'll speak loud. Can you hear me now? Okay. So Yogananda's healing techniques pick it up from the very highest point, which is the source, the creator of all things, the creator of this whole creation, the source of our bodies, the energy in our bodies. If we find disease, ill health in our body, where do we go to for healing? The most direct experience and power comes from the source where it has come from. Yoganandaji said that the root cause of all disease is a constant conflict between the soul and the ego. If you notice, when we are in nature, when we are standing before a huge water body, say an ocean, how do you feel? Often people come away feeling very small. They feel the intimidating power of the ocean. If you're in a heavily wooded forest, often the power of peace that emanates from that environment is stunning. We can suddenly go very still, just rooted to the spot, enjoying that moment. And that power that we feel is God's power. In nature, God's power flows uninterrupted. In man, because he is made in the image of God, and because he has been given free will, man can support the divine will through his human will. And that is where disease begins. So now we see, we are very familiar with healing at a physical level, even at a mental level. But Yoganandaji says, change your thoughts, heal your body. Every disease that is manifesting in the body, if you can trace it back to some thought that has created conflict inside you, you will be able to heal yourself more potently. So now we want to think, in every choice we make, what are we affirming? Are we affirming the soul or the divine will? Are we affirming the ego or the human will? Say, for example, the divine will says that your dharma in this life is to be an architect and to serve creation through that profession. But you are influenced by your environment as you grow up, and your family says, but there is no money in it. Why don't you do this? And so while you're unwilling to, because you're pressurized by your family, you choose a different profession, but your whole life you're dissatisfied. You had an altercation with somebody, and you come away very angry. The divine will would be for you to choose compassion, kindness, over hatred or dislike. You see how at every moment in life, we subconsciously make choices that often we are not even aware of. We want to bring our attention and our awareness more deeply to the deeper processes that are happening inside us in spirit at the level of our soul. And this, we have already been through many sessions of this day. We have spoken about affirmation, we have spoken about meditation, techniques of concentration that expand our awareness. Follow these practices in daily life and you will find yourself being more connected, more attuned with your higher self. And you can be free from disease if you're more attuned with your higher self. And as Jayaji explained it in the morning, disease is not just about perfection or imperfection in the body alone. If you can be happy, because in this plane of duality, in this material plane, your body is also a material expression of the spirit. But however, since it is a material expression, it is bound to the laws of change. But your consciousness is not. So if your consciousness can rise above the body, and if you can feel joy and practice happiness, if you can choose joy, you can rise above even bodily imperfections. And that is the secret of healing and good health. Okay, so another 2 points that I really want to quickly mention before going to the techniques. Yogananda ji also mentioned that healing depends on 2 things. One is the power of the healer, and second, he says it depends on the receptivity of the patient. Now let's look closely at what it means. What does it mean by the power of the healer? Who do you think is the healer? If you approach healing with the understanding that I am the healer, your healing power is limited. Yogananda ji very clearly states that all healing power is limited as long as it fails to recognize the divine source that it comes from. If you want to touch healing at its deepest point, take it back to God. Draw it from that source through which all healing comes. There is the secret. Now we might think, but we are caught in this human body. How can I let unlimited power flow when I am limited? That again is a limited form of thinking. Faith is that which bridges the human will with the divine will. If with faith, with devotion, you can draw on the consciousness of the saints who are self-realized, you can draw that unlimited power through the instrument of your body. And that is the healing power of Paramhansa Yogananda's techniques. That we open ourselves up, not merely as a channel of energy, which is where every other form of healing is currently at the point. Not just as a channel of energy, but as a channel for the divine. Think about it, ponder about it, it makes all the difference in healing. Okay? So the power of the healer. Second, the receptivity. And one more thing I want to talk about in the power of the healer is also, this includes the power of prayer. How do we pray? We often pray with an egoic way. Somebody says, okay, my child is in the hospital, can you pray for him? Recently there was a post for a child who's been through a very bad case of food poisoning and was in the ICU, kidneys and the intestine very badly affected. Now often we will tend to think, oh my goodness, what has happened to this child? Why is it happening to this child? Your heart gets excited. I want this child to be healed. Somebody has problems of bad sores on the body. Sometimes our prayer is, Lord, heal the sores on this person's body. That is egoic prayer. We want to know what is the divine will. Because when we consider healing, we want to consider it at the physical, mental and spiritual realms. Healing of the source at the physical realm would be completely clearing the body of their source. But, however, if at a spiritual level, if the person is carrying the attitudes that created that source in the first place, he will be temporarily healed. And when those attitudes get reinforced in a favorable, conducive environment, the source will be back. So what is the divine will? Often the divine healing is in the healing of an attitude, in opening a person's heart to more acceptance, to more patience, to more understanding. That is healing at a much deeper level. So we need to remove our focus, or we should avoid limiting the focus of our healing only to the physical level and expand that understanding to a deeper mental, spiritual level. And be able to pray that let the divine will flow through these practices. It's not about what the patient or you or me wants. Let it be what the divine wants for the person, because the divine alone knows what is the highest for the person. We do not know it. Okay? So receptivity of the patient has to be open. Often when a person is ill, as Blezy mentioned, as we have seen in the other talks also, the energy is low. You're closed. You become bitter. Now we want to help the person, we want to help bring the energy of the person up. So the first question that we want to ask in a situation that needs healing, it can be a circumstance, it can be personal, it can be anything. It can be something that you're trying to attract. The first question that you want to ask is, how can I bring more positive energy to the situation? How can I bring more divine flow of energy to the situation? Let's ask that question before we sit for healing. And a very important aspect of healing is prepare yourself, your body, your mind with meditation. You need to be calm in your heart because you're sending out energy through the instrument of your body. If you're filled with negative energy, if you're filled with restlessness, if you're filled with excitement or anxiousness or fear, you're also transmitting that. So we want to calm ourselves, we want to meditate, attune ourselves to the divine will, and then call on that divine power to flow through us, through the practice of the techniques. And through those techniques, the divine power will flow. Through your Guru, through God, whomever you may consider as the highest. Yes. Okay. Any questions this far? If not, we will go into the practice of techniques. Okay? So before we go to the practice of techniques, let's just raise the energy in our body. Because if we want to send out energy, we want to have energy in our body too. So let's stand up. We'll practice some energization exercises. We'll do a few of them very quickly. Did we do the first, double breathing with palm touching? Let's do double breathing with palm touching. I will suggest if you can make a little space around yourself. Let's begin with a prayer. O Infinite Spirit, recharge this body, with thy cosmic energy, recharge this mind, with thy concentration, recharge the soul, with thy ever new joy, O eternal youth, of body and mind, abide within me, forever and ever. Let's do the first one, double breathing with palms touching, using the double breath and drawing our breath, using our inhalation to draw joy and vitality in. Let's begin. And as you exhale, cast out any restlessness, anxiety, fears, breathing joy and vitality. Okay. Now let's do the shoulder rotation, opening our chest and the back, relieving tensions around the neck and the shoulders. Breathe deeply and normally. Relax and reverse. Let's relax the neck. We'll rotate the neck with mild tension. Relax and reverse. Now without tension, relax and reverse. Let's do the spinal twist. Loosening our energies around the back and the spine a bit. Okay, spinal rotation, arching your back slightly and moving the upper part of your body. Use your breath to draw energy in and try to center your awareness at the medulla and try to feel or visualize a current of air flowing through the medulla into the spine. Now relax and reverse. Now we'll do the medulla massage, taking the middle three fingers, keeping it at the base of the brain, at the hollow medulla. Let's massage the medulla 3 times in one direction, 3 times in the other. And now taking a double breath, draw your head back with tension. And with a double exhalation, dropping into the chest. Let's do this 2 more times. Massage the medulla. 3 times in one direction, 3 times in the other. Now draw your head back, using your double breath and relax. One more time. Now let's do the 20-part body recharging, tensing the whole body in a wave together. Take a double breath. Tensing your whole body, squeezing the every cell, vibrating as long as you can, and relax. Again, taking a double breath. Tense the whole body, fill your body cells with energy. Let your aura expand. And relax. Let's do this 3 more times at our own pace. Relax. Now let's do the last exercise, double breathing with no tension. Interiorizing this awakened energy, deepening your awareness of it. Let your breath be relaxed. As you breathe out, draw your arms out. As you breathe in, draw your arms in. 2 more times. Now let's take our seats. In the practice of these techniques, we will be using the instrument of our willpower. Yogananda said, our will converts cosmic energy into life force. So use the power of your will and visualization to direct life force, to direct the will, the divine will, to the desired person, whoever needs healing. The first technique that we will do, I would invite all of you to call to your mind anyone you think is in need of healing, anybody you know among your friends or family, relatives, anybody who is in need of healing. Visualize that person clearly at this point between the eyebrows. Before we start with the technique, we will do a 5-minute meditation. We learned the Hansa meditation technique right now. We'll just do it briefly. And after the meditation, continue to keep your gaze at the point. I'll guide the process, but just to let you all know in advance, keep the gaze at the point between the eyebrows. Visualize the person very clearly at this point, and then direct your willpower to flow through that person. And to the affected body part or whatever illness the person is going through, direct it to that person and will the person to be healed in the divine will. Okay? So let's sit straight. Let's keep our backs back away, spine away from the back of the chair. Palms upturned at the junction between the thighs and the abdomen. Opening our hearts. Gaze slowly uplifted, gently uplifted at the point between the eyebrows. Let's take a deep breath. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Now we will inhale to a count of 6. Hold to a count of 6. As we hold, keep your gaze at the point between your eyebrows and concentrate energy there, and we will exhale to a count of 6. Let's inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now let's deepen our awareness of the breath as it comes in. Simply enjoy the breath. But deepen your awareness of it wherever you feel it in the body. And if you can raise that awareness of it at your nostrils, eye of the nostrils close to the point between the eyebrows. Just spend a few moments just watching the breath, feeling it, feeling its power as it enters the body. Now, as the next breath comes in, mentally chant Om, and as the breath goes out, mentally chant Som. Om, Som. If the mind wanders, gently bring it back to the attention on the breath. Consciously keep aside all thoughts that may be negative. Restless. Focus your attention on the breath, which is peace-giving, joyful. We will practice this technique for a few more minutes. Now let's suspend the breath to that point now. And being that inward calmness and silence, and in this deep inner silence, continue to keep your gaze at the point between the eyebrows. Visualize the light there, growing stronger, growing brighter, losing all the power of your will and concentration. Draw that light at that point. Now in that light, visualize anybody you know who may be in need of that healing light, of the joy of God. with the power of your will. See the healing light healing the person according to the will of the divine. And now we will call on the power of Divine Mother to assist, facilitate, help that healing. Let us pray. Divine Mother, thou art omnipresent, thou art in all thy children. Manifest thy healing presence in their body, in their mind, in their soul. Now let's rub our palms together 20 to 25 times vigorously, charging our hands into divine battery. Give us the divine energy. Put in your arms and now use your hands, uplift your arms, lift up your arms, and we'll chant Om 3 times, sending the blessing out to the person. And reaches the soul of the person that needs healing. And when you feel too, you can bring your hands down. We can open our eyes now. This is one of the healing methods. And there is an advanced technique to this healing method as well. A separate chanting of Om specifically for the body, the mind and the soul. But we will cover that for a later, we'll leave that for a later session. Now another technique, how did everybody feel? Did you all feel the power of Om going out through the instrument of your hands? And that is the divine power. If we open our hearts, but always do this after you meditate, when you're sitting in the deep inner silence and you've interiorized yourself, you are connected with the divine source, then send that power out. It has infinite power of healing and can heal the spirit of the person that needs healing. So the second technique that I quickly want to share, this is about chanting Om in any diseased or affected part of the body. So the first part of the healing technique is to visualize your body being filled with light and then direct that energy to that specific body part that needs healing and chant Om 15 to 20 times. And it is very powerful. I have used it whenever I've had stomach aches, and the intensity or number of times you may need to chant Om depends on the intensity of healing that you need. I remember Jayaji's wife Sadhana Deviji had a bad attack of kidney stones, and she used the power of Om healing to break down the stones and heal herself. It is very powerful. It all depends on the will, energy, concentration that we bring to our practice. Okay? So let's again quickly close our eyes. Spine straight, gaze uplifted, the point between the eyebrows. Mentally chant Om. For this healing exercise too, you may visualize anybody who needs healing, even your own self. If there is some part of your body that needs healing, visualize that part of the body. Now as you mentally chant Om, also visualize a warm electric current filling the soles of your feet. Use the power of your will and visualization to feel that warm current filling your feet. Now draw it up your calves, energizing them, filling them with prana. Now the thighs, right up to the buttocks, stomach, intestines, abdomen, lungs, liver, chest, fingers. Feel your fingers vibrating with the light. The forearms left and right, upper arms left and right, the neck, your eyes, your brain, the nostrils. Feel your entire body vibrating with that light. Growing brighter, stronger. The divine power surcharging every cell in your body. Now using the power of your will, direct the life force of this body to that specific body part which you feel needs healing, and concentrate that life force, that light and healing energy on that part, and continue to chant Om at that affected part. We will do this for 5 minutes. Continue to chant Om. At each repetition of Om, see an increase in the power of your concentration, energy, and will. We will chant Om 5 more times at that affected part. And then close with the healing prayer. Let us pray, Divine Mother, the Lord omnipresent, the Lord in all thy children, manifest thy healing presence in their body, in their mind, in their soul. So our thoughts together. And visualizing that part of the body with the spiritual eye, let's send out the power of Om. Om.